Hello, my name is Bill Thomason, and welcome to the NLP Coaching and Skills Training Institute. I'm an NLP success coach and certified NLP trainer. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. One of the co-founders, Richard Bandler, he says that NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, is an attitude and a methodology. The attitude we're talking about is curiosity. And the methodology, as I was just saying, is behavior modeling. Finding people who do what they do well. Questions like, what is excellence? What is genius? And what is expertise is what has driven NLP to become what it is. So what we've done with it, we've taken it out into the sports world, we've taken it out into business. It certainly is effective for personal change, and it's a way that it's an understanding of the way that we use our brains. In fact, at the very basics of NLP, we might talk about it being a bit like a manual, like an owner's manual for how our brain and nervous system works. So clearly the other definition of NLP, we just use the language of it. Neuro, brain and nervous system. Linguistic, how our language, not just what we're saying, but also what we're doing with our bodies, the full communication loop that goes on with you internally and you with other people, how that is specifically programming our behaviors. So whichever definition you like, whichever definitions you go with, it's one of those things that you really don't explain fully in a 3-minute conversation. So what you want to do is begin to look for ways that you can begin to understand how NLP, or neurolinguistics, is going to make a difference in your life. We want to talk a little bit about the history. John Grinder was a linguistics professor at University of, was in Santa Cruz, California, and one of his students, Richard Bandler. These two guys managed to get together. Richard had been a student, computer major, or IT major, and he was also into mathematics, and according to him, a little bit of a frustrated musician. So we begin to bring all these things together. These guys have been looking at cognitive psychology. If you know a little bit about cognitive psychology, there's a part of it that's about information processing. Something about how our brain and nervous system works and how we get information in is that it's useful for us when we can create a model of how things work. Simplify the understanding of it. So as we do simplify things, we can actually make things work for us in our real lives, even fairly complicated contexts, complicated issues can be simplified down to a model that actually works efficiently. So it's useful when we start counting things out. The first step is, the second step is, the third step. In fact, NLP, there was something taken from early research called the TOTE model. And when we actually run an NLP model or pattern, it will pretty much always use the TOTE, T-O-T-E. If you use the initials, that's test. So once you've got a new idea or a new way of doing something in place, you want to operate the new behavior. Once you're able to operate the new behavior, we actually want our clients as NLP coaches to show us, to model, so that we can model exactly how they're doing what they do. So if it takes you to a particular state, I want to know what that state is, and I want to see it so that I can calibrate exactly how you're doing what you're doing. Calibrate meaning getting all the subtle bits and pieces of how you move your body, what the facial features are like. Does the color change? Does the eyes get bigger? Do the eyes close? Is there a change in the breathing or the color? All of those things have an impact on the way we read information with people. The premise of behavior modeling, how NLP got developed, is that if we can get enough high quality information about how people do what they do, how they create excellence, how they are experts in whatever field they're in, or genius, personalities, then we want to get very specific and very minute bits of information. It's not just the language that we're looking at. We're looking at the beliefs that go behind it. We're looking at how you move your body. If you want to achieve almost anything, there's sort of like a recipe to it. Part of behavior modeling is finding out specifically what that recipe is. If I'm going to model my grandmother, who was an excellent baker, and she took a pinch, it would be a little bit different than the famous chef who's 300 pounds, who is very flamboyant and takes a big pinch. I mean, it's a lot. It's a different recipe, different formula for how the baking actually got, or the recipe actually made the cake, or the whatever else it was that needed to get made. So you begin to look at the minute details. So we want to get those nuances, and also the linguistics, the way people think about how they do and how they actually accomplish it. We talk about how great communicators operate is through metaphor. They tell great stories. So one story I have is that in NLP we take metaphor apart. We get very specific about a therapeutic metaphor and what the steps are, how it gets put together in such a way that it has an impact. So here's the story I have for you. It's the story of the young boy. He's probably 6, 7, 8 years old, in that range. And he comes to his mother and says, "Mother, what is NLP?" And her response is, "Well, do you see your grandfather in the other room? What I'm going to have you do is go in the other room and ask your grandfather how he feels today." So the little boy, all excited, trots off into the other room and has a conversation with grandfather. And he comes back in a little bit and he says, "I think he hurts," because what he had elicited from the grandfather was, "Well, my arthritis is a little bit bad today. I may have to go to the doctor, and I'm not feeling so good." And he gets all of this thing, and he has a bad look on his face. And the little boy's kind of worried for the grandfather and sad now. So he comes back to mother. "Mother, what is NLP?" And she says, "Okay, now I'm going to tell you in a moment. And before I do, go back in the other room and ask your grandfather this. Can you remember some things that happened when I was a baby?" So the little boy runs off again. This time, he's elicited from the grandfather all the great stories of when he was born, and the little antics that the boy had growing up, and the thing he did with the little friend that got flour all over the kitchen and made a big mess, and the grandfather's just laughing and holding his tummy, thinking about how that experience had been for him. And the little boy goes back in, and his mother says, "That's exactly what NLP is. It's using just a few words to elicit states that have people in excellent behavior." So, pretty good story about what NLP is. So there are a number of other things that got discovered along the way, and we're going to move those to lesson 2. If you want to get what you want in life, you want to be successful, I'm going to give you the 3 keys to success. The first one is know what you want. The second one is know how you're going to know when you get it. People go right on past the success and never have a way of knowing that they've succeeded. The third thing is vary your approach until. So know what you want, know how you're going to know when you get it, and then vary your approach until. So sometimes people have an outcome or a goal in life and they go right on past the goal, never even noticing that they'd already achieved it. So you never reward yourself, you never know that you've achieved. And what you want to do is set it up so that you have criteria for knowing what you want. That was number 2. And this vary your approach. Sometimes you think you're on target for something, but you're going along and you're realizing that's not it. You're a little bit off and people give up. Well, once you really got your outcome clearly in mind, then you just keep varying that approach until you get to theirs. I'm Bill Thomason, and this is the NLP Coaching and Skills Training Institute. Thank you.